Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Sakina's Diary. If you're new here, I make sewing tutorials. We're going to make this dress today. So first we're going to focus on the upper part of the dress, which is the bodice. And the first fabric you're going to need half of your chest measurement, which is this chest circumference, half of that. Then you add about 4 inches, but mine is a bit bigger than that. My daughter's chest circumference is 22. Half of that is 11, and then you're supposed to add about 5. So let's say about 16 inches. But I've just made mine 22 because I had some scrap fabrics. And then the length of the bodice. My daughter's bodice length is actually 9, and then I added 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, and then for the second part, which will be the back of the bodice, we're going to add, I think the first one I did actually was the back of the bodice, but the second part should be half of your chest circumference, and you add about 7 inches, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So you can see one is bigger than the other, so the back one should be bigger, should be about 2 inches, 2 inches bigger when folded. Yeah, and then the other part of the fabric, you're going to need the length of the skirt. So because we'll be joining this to the bodice, will be the length of the skirt. My daughter's skirt length is about 15 inches, and I've made it 16 inches for seam allowance and joining allowance. And because we're going to gather it, so I've just done 2 times waist measurement. Waist measurement is 21, and then 2 times, that's 44. So you're going to need 2 44 inches fabric by the length of the skirt. So I've just used the whole length of the Ankara fabric, which is about 45 to 46 inches. Okay, so first we're going to start with our bodice. So this is the front bodice. Oh, and don't forget, you're going to need another fabric for lining your bodice. Okay, so you're going to need the same measurement you're using for the Ankara, also for your lining. It can be a plain cotton fabric, which I'll be showing you in a minute, you'll see. Right, so for your bodice, for the front, we're going to measure our neck width. My daughter's 3 years old, so this measurement is usually okay for a 3-year-old. If they're like a chubby 3-year-old, then you just need to add just half an inch or an inch in some areas, but I'll walk you through. But mostly for any 3-year-old, you should be able to, this measurement should be fine. So for the neck width, I'm marking 2.5 for the neck width, just making sure again I've got the right fabric. So I'm doing the fronts, and for the shoulder, half of a shoulder measurement is 4.5, and I'm just gonna come down the shoulder by half an inch, which will make this shoulder slant, because as we all know, our shoulder is not straight, so that's why we're creating this slant. Okay, so we're joining the neck width to the shoulder slant, and then from there we're going to measure half of our armhole measurement. Half of my daughter's armhole measurement is 4 1/4. You could do 4 1/4 or 4 1/2, but 4 1/4 is good for most 3-year-olds anyway. So that's the armhole measurement done. And then next we're going to measure the chest circumference. My daughter's chest circumference is 22 inches. So 1/4 of the chest circumference is 5 1/2. And I've just added 1 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm just joining that together, drawing a straight line. Okay, so all together that's 6 1/2, and I'm just going to take away 1/2 inch from that measurement and take that to the bottom of the bodice. So I'm marking the bottom of the bodice 6 inches. So remember the chest area was 5 1/2 plus 1 inch seam allowance, so that makes it 6 1/2. And then for the waist, or should we say the bottom of the bodice, just take away 1/2 inch from your chest measurement, and that's it. So that makes it 6 inches. And I just came up by 1/2 inch and then do a little curve so that the bodice will sit nicely when you attach the gathered skirt. And then for neck depth, I'm doing 2 3/4. I don't want it too high. I want around the neck. I want it to be as comfortable as possible. So 2 3/4 was okay. And I've just joined. I don't have my ruler at hand, so that's why I've freestyled it. So as you can see, sewing, you don't need any, most times you don't need any special tools. You can still get a job done without all the tools. And I'm just cutting out. We've done. I'm just cutting out my fabric, and I'll be using that to cut out the back fabric. I actually enjoyed making this tutorial. This dress I made for my daughter for a nursery party for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee party at school, and they had to wear something with red or blue or white. So when I saw this fabric, I just really, and I just like the flowers on it. So yeah, and it came out really well. I quite like it. So for our back fabric, we're going to measure 2 inches. You could do 1 inch here as well, it's up to you, but I like to leave enough allowance in case of any mistakes, because I'm still new to this, as some of you might know. So I try to leave enough allowance in case I need to adjust anything. So I've just drawn my 2 inch. That will be for our zipper, our zip, and I'm going to attach the front bodice, and I'm only coming down by 1 inch. Remember the front was 2 3/4, but for the back only 1 inch, and I'm just going to trace the front bodice, and then use the, you don't have to trace, you could just cut it out, but because I'm so clumsy, I'm always scared that if I don't draw the line, I might just cut into the fabric or something. So I do the line first with a chalk. But if your hands are steady, then you could just go ahead and cut it out without drawing the line. But make sure when you're doing make sure that the back neck depth is 1 inch. Okay, so I've separated them. I'm just pinning my fabric together because I'm going to slit that fabric open for the zip. You could do 1 inch like I said, or you could do 2 inch like I've done there, and I'm just going to split it open. There you go. I'm just marking the other side just so I remember where the zip will be. Now we're gonna move on to our gathered skirt. So remember, is your waist measurement times 2 for the front, and then waist measurement times 2 for the back, because we're going to gather it, so we need it to be bigger than normal waist size. Yeah, so we're going to take it to our sewing machine, sew I think it's called a wide stitch. So the length, make sure the length of your thread, so you turn the dial to about 9 depending on what sewing machine you use. I use a manual one at the moment, so you turn it to a 9 so you'll be able to pull it to create a gather. Or if you have there's some foot that you can gather with. Anyway, right now I'm just making the strap for the dress, and the strap are 23 inches long each one. I've just cut out 46 inches, and I'm just going to split that into 2 really. As you can see, 22 is about 23 inches, and I'll just split it in 2, 1 for each side. Turn them and turn it right sides facing each other, and just sew. And sew across like that. And you do that for the other one, and make sure once you do that, you turn it to the right side and then iron it. So you turn it to the right side. If you're new here, please do not forget to subscribe. If you like what you see, please give it a thumbs up. And if you think you know anyone that might benefit from this video, please do not forget to share. Share with them, share it on your social media pages. Thanks for all your support. Oh, and for the back as well, I split the fabric into 2 because I'll be adding a zip from the bodice all the way down, so you have to split your fabric into 2 before you gather it. I've gathered the front and the back fabric. I'll suggest you sew your bodice first before gathering the skirt, so that you'll be able to use your bodice to measure how wide you want your skirt. I don't know how wide you want your skirt. Like right now, I've already gathered mine because I have an idea. But if you're new to sewing, I suggest you do the sewing the bodice first. So this is what it looks like when you sew your bodice. So that will be your zipper allowance. So just sew the shoulders first, right sides facing each other. Always remember that. And then you can see I've got my lining. It's just plain cotton fabric. See? Okay, so we've got our shoulders attached. For both fabric, we're just going to place the lining over. I forgot to remove the pin. So we're going to place the lining over the main fabric. Make sure everything is matching, the shoulders are matching. Yeah, pin it down and then sew it. But make sure you don't sew it all the way to the end. I made a little mistake in one of them. I started all the way at the end. Don't sew all the way to the end because of the zipper. Stop by the zipper allowance. Yeah, like there. And make sure you do the armhole area as well. So you stop there. You start. Don't start at the end like I did. And finish the armhole. And then because the back is slit, you're able to turn your fabric. You're able to do it this way. If the back was not slit and there's no, you wouldn't have a zip or anything, and the back is not slit, you won't be able to do this. I know because I've tried it before. A long time ago when I started sewing. There's a method you use when sewing a bodice without zipper at the back, or just normal bodice. Okay, so we turn that right side. Give it a quick press just to make everything stay in place. But because my videos try not to take too long to doing the video, that's why I haven't ironed mine. But when you're doing yours, make sure you iron it so it looks nice and neat, and then you'll know what you're working with and what you're doing. So that's what it looks like. We're just going to join from the arm area. Okay, I'm just making sure everything is in place. Then you grab the arm area like that. Make sure the seams are matching across like that. Pin it in place, and we're just going to sew across. Make sure you start from the lining all the way to the Ankara side, and we're doing that for the other part, for the other side as well. And also don't forget to attach your belt. I forgot to show it in this video. So mark about half an inch from the bottom of the bodice and just place your straps in there before you sew it up. Okay, so that's that part done. Now what we're going to do, we're going to attach our zip. Now grab you got your gathered skirts. We're going to attach them to each other. Sew the sides. Okay, just sew it straight down at the sides. Now the skirt is ready. I've joined the back to the front. So I'm just trimming any frizz or any excess thread. Now we're about to attach the bodice. When you're attaching the bodice, make sure you only attaching the Ankara part first. Don't attach both the lining and the Ankara at the same time. Do the Ankara first. Can you see why I left the half an inch from the bottom of the bodice? So that's our same allowance. Okay, making sure you're matching the seams on the skirt to where the seam is on the bodice, and I'm just pinning everything in place. You can see I'm matching the sides first, then you can go and adjust. Just pin everything in place. Take your time, but pins are so deadly. I always manage to poke myself. I wish there was something else I could use. I know you can use clips, but sometimes clips doesn't work for depending on what you're sewing. I know it probably work doing this, but there's some things that you might need to pin. I wish there was like an alternative for pin sometimes because it's so painful and I'm very clumsy. So I'm just adjusting the gathers when necessary so that everything fits perfectly. I really enjoyed making this skirt. I've I haven't made anything like this with zip and all this shebang in a very long time. So it was a bit rusty when I was making this, but it still came out quite nice. And my daughter really I don't know, every time she wants to wear dress. So that's why I tend to just make dress. She doesn't she I can't remember the last time she actually wore trousers. Everyday dress, even if it's freezing cold, she wants to wear dress. So I just tend to make when I do make stuff, I make dresses. And I've just decided I used to make stuff for myself, but I always end up not wearing it or something. I don't know. I just don't end up wearing them out or anything. So I decided that I'll make stuff for my daughter instead because she would definitely wear it. Because with me, it's not even sometimes, even if I sew like, even if it's the nicest thing ever, I get bored easily. So now I've pinned everything. Just going to sew across like that in a straight line. You have to make sure everything's secured. No, you don't. With sewing, you have to take your time because if you rush, you end up going back, ripping seams, and starting all over again. So I like to take my time. Each step I check to make sure that I haven't missed anything out. You know, sometimes, like when you're sewing, you think everything is going well until you finish. That's when you realize you probably haven't sewn something, didn't get sewn, or So the fabric has moved, now is caught onto something else. It's just crazy. So I like to take my time. This video actually took almost the whole day. That's why I was sewing hair accessories, like simple tutorials, because they don't take so long. And because I'm so busy these days, it's just to try and get a video sometimes is long. So I try to like make short videos, but when I was making this dress, I just thought, yeah, I should record it. Really, I wasn't planning on recording. I had something else to record and I haven't actually done that one. But yeah, I was going to record a wrap trousers, which I'll still do, but that was supposed to be the content for this week. But I think this will do too. I just might as well record it because I was sewing it for my daughter's nursery party. So I'm just trimming off any excess threading or fraying and things like that, because I'm going to use the black lining to cover everything up. Now we're going to fold. You can iron this before you do it, but I think this will do. Just fold the lining at the edge at the bottom and just place it over just to cover where you've sewn already. And I just like to pin it as I go along. And as you can see, I've pinned everything down. I'm just going to sew all the way across. Right, so I'm just making sure I've not pinned anything anyhow before I start sewing. Like I said, I always check, double check before you just move on to the next step. So I've done that, I've sewn, and I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to find a zip to go with the dress. I'm going to use a black zip. That's a black zip. I'm just trying to see if it's the right size, and the zip is invisible zip. That's what the back looks like, and that's the front. Zip is not my strong point when it comes to sewing, so yeah, I don't use zip much when I'm sewing, so I'm trying to incorporate it more often, so I'm used to it. You could see my sewing is not very straight. Don't sew it all the way to the bottom like I've done it. I had to rip the seams, or rip the seams. So don't sew it all the way down. When you're sewing it, just move your zip around if it's stopping you or blocking your sewing machine. I should have used the zipper foot. I was just sewing, then I realized after sewing that I could have just taken the zipper foot and put it on the machine. So just fold the top part over like that, and then fold your Ankara inside. I've attached the zip. I couldn't show you because I'm not an expert when it comes to attaching zip, but there are loads of videos on YouTube that show you a more detailed video on how to attach zip. So try and follow that one. But it's quite simple. I haven't attached the bottom, I just use the pin to hold it together. But when you're attaching the skirt, just move your zip out of the way and pin it down like so and sew across. Yeah, I'm just showing you again. So when you're sewing your zip on top of the fabric, make sure that you don't sew it all the way to the bottom, and even at the top you leave a bit to fold over at the top, and there you go. The skirt is ready. We just need to the bottom, and that's it. I'm just trimming off all the fray fabric, all the threads, trim it off so that it's nice and neat when I do the bottom seam. And then at the bottom we do about 1/4 inch, and then 1 inch, a 1/4 inch and 1 inch, or you could do 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch, it depends on you. So I'm just attaching this flower trimming. I think it just goes well with it. It just gives it a pop, and I've decided to just add some to the bodice as well. I think it just gives it that 3D effect. I don't know what I was doing, but it just think it goes well with it. I'm just attaching the flower with my needle and thread, but do not stress yourself doing this. Just get a hot glue gun or fabric glue if you have one, and just use it to attach it, to be honest. But I like to be extra, that's why I was tacking it down. So I tacked it down first, and I used the hot glue gun as well. I think the hot glue gun stays down better. And that's it really. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I hope you'll be visiting my channel soon to watch more videos, of course. Thank you and stay blessed. Bye bye.